You know, it's dangerous for you to be here in the frozen food section.
Why is that?
Because you could melt all this stuff.
1990 was a weird turning point for movies. The 80s excess was officially over. Studios were panicking about what the 90s were supposed to look like.
Maybe you'll hear better after I break both of your legs.
And I can hear.
And I don't like being harassed.
And Hollywood responded by greenlighting a batch of films that felt confused, risky, and sometimes completely unhinged. But when these movies hit theaters, audiences didn't show up. Critics didn't care. Box offices stayed quiet. But years later, thanks to cable TV, VHS rentals, and late-night rewatches, these so-called failures found something way more valuable than opening weekend success.
My new car! Oh my God!
A loyal fan base. So today, we're diving into the 1990 movies that flopped and somehow became cult classics people still talk about.
God, I love you.
Loose Cannons, a buddy cop comedy starring Gene Hackman and Dan Aykroyd, which sounds like a guaranteed hit on paper. Instead, it quietly failed and vanished from theaters. The humor was strange, the tone was off, the audiences didn't know what to make of it. But over time, people started appreciating how weird it really was. Hackman playing against type, Aykroyd leaning fully into absurdity. It's messy, but that's exactly why fans remember it today. It's one of those movies that feels like it shouldn't exist, which makes it oddly rewatchable.
It's inspiring to see a great analytical mind at work.
Next up is The Guardian, a movie that answers the question, what if your nanny was a part of an ancient pagan cult that sacrifices babies to an evil tree? Yes, that's the premise. Audiences in 1990 were not ready for this kind of slow, creepy horror. The movie underperformed, critics brushed it off, and it faded fast. But horror fans later rediscovered it and realized it had tension and a genuinely unsettling idea at its core. Today, it's one of those deep-cut horror movies that people recommend when they want to watch something dark and different. Now don't be a crybaby. John Waters' rock and roll musical starring Johnny Depp. At the time, audiences didn't know what it was. It wasn't mainstream enough to be a hit, and it wasn't weird enough for Waters' hardcore fans.
So tired of being good.
So it fell on its face. But years later, total cult classic. The music, the satire, the over-the-top performances, people now adore it for exactly what it is. It didn't fit in 1990, but it fits perfectly now. Space Invaders is one of those movies that sound insane even describing it. Martians accidentally invade a small Illinois town on Halloween while a radio station is rebroadcasting War of the Worlds.
Prepare to die, Earth scum!
Maybe later. Have fun, boys.
Somehow, this didn't become a box office smash. Audiences skipped it, critics shrugged, and it disappeared. But kids who grew up watching it on VHS absolutely loved it. It's goofy, charming, and amazingly silly. Today, it's remembered fondly as a family sci-fi oddity that never deserved to fail as hard as it did.
2,945 miles an hour in excess of the posted limit.
Great. There goes my insurance.
And how about The Adventures of Ford Fairlane? Andrew Dice Clay is a foul-mouthed private detective in the music industry. In 1990, this movie crashed and burned hard. Critics hated it, audiences avoided it, and it became a punchline. But time has been kinder. Not because it's subtle, because it's such a time capsule of the late 80s excess colliding with early 90s cynicism.
You're a piece of spam. That's what I think of you.
Fans now appreciate it as a bizarre artifact of its era, packed with cameos, attitude, and pure chaos.
Hello, hello.
Firebirds wanted to be the next Top Gun, but with helicopters instead of jets. Unfortunately, audiences were not interested in another military action movie so soon, so this one fell out of the sky. But over time, it found an audience. The aerial footage, the intense training sequences, and the very serious tone all gained appreciation from fans of military action films. It's not perfect, but it's memorable, and that's more than most could say.
I am the greatest. I am the greatest.
What time is it? Desperate Hours is a tense home invasion thriller that didn't connect in theaters. Despite strong performances and a solid premise, it underperformed and faded away quickly. Years later, people revisit and realize it had real tension, solid direction, and a relentless pace. It didn't fail because it was bad. It failed because it didn't stand out in a crowded market. Now it's one of those thrillers people stumble upon and wonder, how did I miss this?
I'm not gonna tell you again. Put the gun down.
And if I needed change for $1, I'd ask for Quick Change, a heist movie where the robbery goes perfectly.
Will you rob a bank with me?
I will, Grim. I will.
But escaping New York City becomes the real nightmare. Audiences ignored it in 1990, and it quietly got lost. But over time, fans fell in love with its clever premise, sharp humor, and non-stop escalation. It's one of those movies that feels smarter the older you get, and now it's recommended as an underrated comedy classic.
You've got a gun. Shoot them.
I want to, but they're fur-bearing. I'd need some kind of permit, wouldn't I?
See, I want to thank you guys. You could have given us help, but you've given us so much more.
Hey, that's what we're here for, right?
These were the 1990 movies that failed to make an impact when they were released, but refused to disappear. They didn't dominate the box office, but they survived long enough to find the audiences that actually got them. 1990 wasn't just the start of a new decade. It was the graveyard for misunderstood movies that eventually became cult favorites. And sometimes, that second screening matters way more than opening weekend ever could.
Get to live the rest of my life like a schnook.
You're screwing her too, and my wife and his wife? How the hell you got time to make a living?
Joey, what's he talking to you, Joey? This is true?
Oh, come on, Lisa.
Lisa? I knew you was doing a Lisa, Joey.
No. Jesus, what's that make it? 4? How many girls you got?
Joey, you probably got a wife